All right, good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us for the regular scheduled Village Board meeting on July 8th, 2025. As we call this meeting to order, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Lana, roll call, please.
Mayor DeBold.
Here.
Trustees Amos.
Here.
Babiak.
Here.
Brockman.
Here.
Chapman.
Here.
Luciano. And Selfridge.
Here. All right. We do have a quorum to conduct village business this evening. With that, we'll move into our citizens section. Are there any citizens wishing to address the village board this evening? Please just come to the microphone and just state your name for the record, please.
This is a letter from 15 years ago. That's a piece of my son's car. I'm really nervous. I'll try to make this in 3 minutes, okay?
You're fine, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Christine. I've been a resident in Shorewood on Burton Boulevard for over 19 years now. At 8:55 p.m. on Friday, June 27th, a heavily intoxicated driver going 70 to 80 miles per hour down Burton slammed into the rear of my son's parked Ford Ranger utility vehicle, pushing it 50 feet forward. It's a 2-ton plus vehicle. She flipped over her car on the driver's side. It's a miracle no one was seriously injured, and she came out of it with a bruised arm. The accident happened at dusk across the street from Troy Hoffram Elementary School. There were children out on their bikes. When I was standing there at the accident, I looked over and they were standing right next to me. Our neighbor and his girlfriend were walking their dog. As neighbors came out to see what had happened, they were angry. We all discussed that the speeding and heavy traffic on Burton is getting worse and something needs to be done. So I decided to get the residents of Burton Boulevard together so that we could collectively have our concerns heard by the village and the police department. I think we're all complaining individually and we're not being heard. I spent 3 days handing out those flyers, to every household on Burton. I heard 903 tell me that their tree was taken down by a drunk driver last year and her neighbor had his BMW sideswiped. 808 had his wife's car totaled by a driver who spun out in the fall. 801 had his and his neighbor's brick mailboxes wiped out by a 16-year-old girl texting and driving. 700 had a car hit by a drunk driver. This is actually the second car that we've had hit in front of our house. Our van was damaged 2 years ago. That's just to name a few incidents. Everyone told me they do not let their kids play in the front yard. That includes us. My kids were 1, 3, 5, and 7 when we moved here. I now have grandkids, and I don't let them play in the front yard. Residents told me all kinds of stories about speeding. My neighbor right there lives 2 doors down off a river. He's like, I can sit in my garage and see people going 40 when they pass my house. There's been yelling, swearing, flipping off, passing cars on the left, throwing things at us. Some are so tired of calling the police in the village, they didn't even want to come tonight. They laughed at me. Residents told me of various measures they had gone through in the last 19 years to bring the problem to light. Still nothing. I substitute teach for Troy and Trinity Christian. I see the traffic issues during school hours as well. I asked one of the crossing guards to be here tonight, and she's here in the audience. I also asked her what the issues are that she would want me to bring up. She texted, the speeding traffic that I have witnessed while children are present every morning and afternoon during my crossing guard shift. And this I didn't know. I'm also stepping away from my crossing guard duties this year due to the stress it brings me. I have a letter that I gave you from the Shorewood Police Department. It's at least 15 years old. You'd have to look up when Robert was a chief of police and Nick Forster was a patrol officer. He writes, in the past year, I've spoken to many residents on the street and responded to numerous complaints. Attempts to step up enforcement and add more manpower have been made. I have made a personal commitment to try to bring the speeding problem to a safe level. Despite that effort, the problem still exists. The time has come to take a new approach. More tickets and enforcement cannot be the only solution. I'm coming to you today to ask for help in solving this. We are looking for suggestions, which we gave them. I spend as much time as my other responsibilities allow patrolling Verton, but I don't live there. I accept there are patterns that I can't see, and I hope that you as a resident can. Nothing was done. Now, there are many options we are asking you to consider. I know this one will never happen. I know of a subdivision that had it completely blocked off from the commercial area to the residential because they had 2 fatalities. Stop signs at Massillon, Hamilton, and Breckenridge with speed bumps in front of Hofer and Trinity would also work. They use them successfully in the city. Plainfield has them on Lockport Street. I don't want to listen to the snowplow can't go 40 miles an hour down my street and shoot snow all the way up to my front door anymore. Other suggestions and options, you have engineers that work for the city. We can talk about it. My neighbor, Tom McCullough, has requested various FOIA information. We have not received it yet, but we would be happy to present it at a separate village board meeting once we receive it. Is there anyone else who would like to come in?
Hang on a second, ma'am. First and foremost, I need you to state your name for the record.
Christine Ozemkevich.
Thank you.
Can you spell your last name, please?
Oziemkiewiczz. This is my neighbor, Oksana.
Hang on a second.
Okay.
I just want to give you the opportunity. It's public comment. I just want to give you the opportunity to close your remarks. We're more than happy to try to listen to everybody's concerns. But when you're done, it is public comment. Anybody else that does wish to address the board will be given that opportunity. But I want to let you close out as your
If
remarks.
anyone has questions, you can ask me now. It literally is a miracle
It's
that
public
this
comment,
girl
ma'am.
did not kill anybody. It really is. Look at that flyer. Please pass it to everybody. If you don't know about this accident, we couldn't believe we came outside. His car is 50 feet away, and her car is flipped on the side. And when they pulled her out of the sunroof, she was laughing. I don't think that's funny. It's a school zone. It's a school zone 24/7, 365 days of the year. I've almost watched 2 children in my 19 years there get hit by a car. I work at the school, and I couldn't imagine going to school one day and finding out that a child that lived in my neighborhood or their parent was killed because nothing was done.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Anybody else for public comment? Again, just please state your name for the record.
Yes, my name is Oksana Zabiaka, and I live on Verton Boulevard since 2020. We moved and we started the family because we wanted to escape from the city rush. And since then, it's just been it's not the experience that we expected from the suburbs. So just to add to Christine's statement, we would like to present you this petition signed by the residents of Verton Boulevard, if you would allow me.
Mm-hmm.
Petition, we suggest options that I think should be done on our street because, like I said, I have 2 small children. They're both under 5, and I cannot allow them to play on the front yard. Sometimes I'm so scared to leave them on the backyard because my son, being a boy, he likes to climb things, so he climbs the 4-foot fence, and sometimes he ended up on the front yard in a matter of a minute, and you never know what, God forbid, can happen. So for me, as for the mom, it's just the nightmare waiting to happen. So we truly hope that this hearing will bring some decision to our residents. I guess that's it.
Okay,
Thank you so much.
Sure.
Oksana, it spells O-K-S-A-N-A, and last name Zabiaka, Z-A-B-I-Y-A-K-A. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Lynette Sartori, Lynnette. last name Sartori. As Ms. Christine has stated, I am a Hofer employee. I have been a Hofer crossing guard and a lunch and recess employee for the last 3 school years. I'm going into my 4th school year. I did tell admin this at the end of this school year that I can no longer do crossing guard on Burton anymore. My last 3 years as a crossing guard, I absolutely love it. Christine will tell you, some of the other neighborhood people that are here, they see me out there every morning. I wave to everybody. I love crossing the kids and their families. I mean, literally, I love it. I'm 39 years old, and I'm retired from the Galloway Family YMCA. I worked there for 13 years, and so I've known Mrs. Copes forever. I have worked in service for Troy, Plainfield, all the school districts. I used to run the before and after school care program. So having the opportunity to be a Troy 30C employee has been wonderful. And so just being a crossing guard has been wonderful, as well as, lunch and recess. But like I said, I after this school year, I couldn't do it anymore. I know that Shorewood Police Department has come out to Hofer because Mrs. Copes had called, because where I was crossing at Hofer in the beginning of the school year, it was at the entrance of Hofer. So if you're familiar with Hofer and the layout, if you enter Hofer, it's the entrance. And so they had me stationed there. We had a lot of families start to cross over there, and so that's where they put me. And then I know the police department had came out at the end of the school year, at the end of the school day, because we were just getting so much traffic. The school traffic, parents that were trying to come in, so the car rider line. And so as I was trying to cross, and this wasn't just 1 or 2 times, this was a daily occurrence. As I was trying to cross, I can't see because the traffic was so backed up both ways. There was 3 times in 1 week as I was trying to cross students to get to their parents who are waiting for them on Burton. I almost got hit 3 times. And they're not even Hofer families. These are just people driving through on Burton. 3 times in 1 week, I almost got hit. And I was so upset. And I'm like, Mrs. Copes, we have to do something. So I know Shorewood PD did come out. I do not remember the officers that came out, but they were so kind. And they were talking to me, and we were just trying to figure out how we can make it safer for me. After a few months of being in that spot, we no longer have anybody crossing over there. It was that dangerous for me to cross. And so at the entrance of Hofer, there is no more crossing guard over there. They had moved me, and then they had moved me with 2 other crossing guards at the exit of Hofer. So actually close to right across the street from Christine's house. So from, I would say, November all the way into the end of the school year, there were 3 of us crossing every day. It was like a little triangle. So if you ever passed Hofer in the beginning of the school day, you saw me out there. I was helping crossing students we have these crosswalks right by Christine's house. And every morning with my other crossing guards, we would just stand there, and cars are just flying. Some are Hofer parents, and I knew who they were, so I made sure I let admin know. But besides those Hofer parents that are speeding down Burton, those are people that are probably going to Trinity Christian, or people going to Target, or trying to get to Starbucks, obviously coming from River to get to 59. It is insane. And I know that Shorewood PD, you guys are amazing, and they come out, and there would be some mornings where we'd see officers, and they would sit there, and there would be some mornings there people are getting pulled over for speeding, but that's a small percentage. Otherwise, I'm standing out there along with the children and the parents and everybody else, and I can't tell you how fast they're going, but they are speeding. They are not going the 20 miles an hour at the posted speed limit when the lights are flashing, especially after school too. Never. We never see it. And it is true, I did step down as crossing guard. I feel bad to do that to my admin because we're already shorthanded as crossing guards, but I can no longer do it anymore. I can't. So I asked them to give me a break this upcoming school year, and maybe the following school year I can come back and help. But that is the reason why I stepped down from my duties, is because of how unsafe it is. And I do live actually off of Breckenridge too, and so I'm an avid cyclist, so I'm always riding around Shorewood, and whether I am crossing or just a citizen or riding my bike, I see it all the time. And so I fear for my children, I fear for my Hofer community, and I fear for obviously the rest of my neighborhood. So I appreciate you all listening. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other citizens wishing to address the village board this evening? Sure. And again, just please state your name for the record, sir.
My name is Jason Mesmer. I actually live across the street from Christine. My wife was second on the scene of that last accident. My wife and I were sitting in our living room. We heard this giant crash, and she ran out, and she forgot her shoes. It was that bad. We were that worried that somebody had been seriously hurt. Our bedroom faces Burton, and I can tell you this: the speeding and the reckless driving, it's not just during school times. It's not just during the day. It's at all hours of the night. I mean, people blast through Verton like it's a highway. And it happens multiple times every single night because it wakes us up pretty much every single night. We've lived in that house since 2019, and we've never gone more than a few days without hearing somebody just roaring down full throttle down Burton Boulevard. If we could close the street through traffic, we would. And it would seriously inconvenience us, but we don't care. It'd be absolutely worth it. I've got a 4-year-old child and a 7-year-old child. They do not play in the front yard. We completely fenced in our backyard with very tall fences to make sure, because God forbid my kids get out in the front yard, because I know the drivers on Verton, they're not paying attention. They're not driving safely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Felipe Francini, 622 Harrods Lane, Shorewood. I'm here to talk about the sidewalks in Edgewater. I have spoken to you guys before. You have some sidewalks that are probably between 2 and 3 inches difference in height, which make it difficult for the disabled to access through your sidewalks. It has become an obstacle course. This is my 3rd time addressing it to you guys here. It has also been addressed to the Illinois Department of Human Rights and HUD. We have some highly overpaid department heads that go around criticizing other individuals' work. I believe it's important that you come and look at those sidewalks. One is located on Edgewater Lane, I believe it's 624. I addressed it to you before. I lost control of my wheelchair and flipped it over on that location. The other one's at Highland. Also, you have a problem with a pond located between Ridge, Highland, and River. When you create these development agreements with the homeowners associations, you come and show these beautiful paintings here, and you pride yourselves as what a beautiful community you're creating. But then once certain individuals lined up their pockets with money and bail out and file for bankruptcy, we'll have to deal with the mess and to spend unnecessary amounts of money trying to combat mosquitoes. That pond has become a mosquito haven. It's been nothing but algae since the beginning of the spring. You go around nitpicking and harassing certain little individuals for minor violations while you neglect to see the bigger elephant in the room. I believe it's important that you address those issues and that you cater to the residents equally. Individuals in homeowners associations are being double taxed. We pay to the association to do certain work, and then we pay taxes to the village. When it comes time to fix the problems, and we question whose jurisdiction is. Nobody seems to have an answer. You just either play stupid or ignore the question. I believe it's important to take care of those issues. Also, the tree overgrowth in Edgewater is a problem. Our trees haven't been trimmed for quite some time. And I'd like to ask you, is it your jurisdiction or is it the homeowners association jurisdiction? And I know what the answer is going to be. I know it's a public comment and you guys are not allowed or don't care to answer. But I think at some point someone needs to answer. Let's keep playing this stupid silent game. We know there is a problem. And As in regards to the situation in Burden, I'm one of the citizens that take a shortcut from Edgewater to go to Walmart where I pick up my medications. That road was poorly designed. There's a bunch of curbs around it. There's a cement truck that parks right on almost in the middle of the road all year round. I think maybe if you have some money left from the bridge project, maybe you should invest in redesigning that street and make it a little wider or something, so that maybe there'll be a little bit of traffic control, some stops, and speed bumps. I understand what this lady's talking about. I'm not here to talk about it, but I see their problem, and I think the problem needs to be taken care of. And I'd like to thank him for the turnout. Normally, you only see 1 or 2 homeowners come here. You guys need to be here more often and address your problems. Maybe then they'll listen. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
How you doing?
Just state your name for the record, please.
Anthony Thompson, and this is my wife Patricia Thompson.
Hello, everyone.
Okay, I live on Hampton, Hampton and Burton, the corner right there. I've been living there 18 years, and I ain't seen everything over there. First of all, I got a young daughter at Missouri University right now. When she was in 4th grade, she almost got hit by a car right there in the corner right there before they was flying through there. If I wouldn't have screamed her name, she would have got ran over. Thank God she's still here today. She's in college right now. That happened 10 years ago. Okay, I got a dog. My dog, 12 years old, he got ran over on the corner right there. And he's still alive today, but he walked with a limp for 12 years. That happened like 11 years ago. So over the years, I've been on it for 18 years. They flying through that street every day. I almost got hit by a car several times going to the mailbox. They won't slow down. They're very ignorant. They calling his name. They giving us fingers. I haven't seen everything. I don't know what we got to do, but it's getting crazy. People doing 50 miles an hour on Burton every day. We need something, red light, something in the street to slow them down, but it's getting out of hand. I only used to come to the meeting, but when my neighbors told me to come to the meeting, because I ain't seen everything. And one time I pulled out right there, the car ran up on us and spent off. My wife in the car and just playing games. So I don't know what you guys got to do, but like I just heard my wife said 2 weeks ago somebody had an accident on Burton, and if you guys don't do that, I don't want to be here next time here somebody lost their life and got killed on that street. Like that man was in here. It's a work truck right there, around that corner right there. Yes. And when you go around that corner, you can't see. My neighbor had a car accident right in front of that house right there. Tore his car up, and that was like last month. Mm-hmm. So I don't know what you guys got to do, but somebody need to resolve this before somebody get hurt. I ain't seen everything.
Hi, I'm Patricia Thompson. I just wanted to say if we could find, or if you can find some kind of funding, we have one sign that says 25 miles per hour. That sign is closer to Target. So after they do 25 miles an hour, they start to speed down Burton. Our house sits at Burton and Hamilton. So there's a curve there. Hamilton. There's a curve there. So when the cars are going around the curve, it's almost like they accelerate. I hear the talks about speed bumps. That will be optional too. A stop sign, yeah. I think if there's a stop sign, they're still going to continue to speed. Other options is like a stoplight. I don't think that would be I don't know who has to pay for it. I don't know if homeowner association can find the money for it. But please, it's ridiculous. Our mailbox system, we're on the west side of the street, and the mailboxes are on the east side of the street for the east and west side. So what we have to do, because we're on the west side of the street, we have to walk across the street to get our mail. I hate going to get the mail. My husband can tell you how many times I went over there to get mail. I don't know. It's, we're getting new people in the area who does not understand that we have a school over there. I don't know what it is. And it's not just Monday through Friday. It's on the holidays. It is all year round. They're speeding. I don't know what we can do. They see the school there, but they won't slow down. They even do this speed even when school is in session. Yeah. Please, we need help. We want something, either speed bumps. I don't know if the taxpayers have to pay for this. We need something. Please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So real quick, we're aware, so when Verton went in years ago, we knew Verton was going to be a collector road. That was one of the reasons why when it was designed with the curves to try to slow it down. Unfortunately, a collector road is a road that it's basically a secondary road to funnel traffic from 59 to River Road. Now, unfortunately, of late, that road has seen a lot more traffic than what was even originally anticipated out there. With that, staff has already started having some discussions as to what some options might be. We are working on potentially doing a traffic study to figure out what some options might be, whether it turns into speed tables, elevated intersections, other methods to try to create traffic calming opportunities. Again, we know Verton was a problem and it has just significantly become worse. This is going to be addressed. I don't have an answer for you right this minute. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't have an answer right this minute, but there will be something. And again, this is not being put on an HOA. An HOA is not going to be requested to improve a city road. But again, we will come up with a solution, whether that is extended curbs at intersections, narrowing that part of it, again, whether it's elevating the intersections. But again, we will get some sort of solutions in place.
You now have 5 establishments at the end.
Ma'am, public comments beyond.
Also sell alcohol.
Thank you, ma'am.
Anyone else?
May I ask a question?
No, sir. Public comment. All right. With that, we'll move into this evening's consent agenda. Item number 1 will be approval of the regular meeting minutes from June 24th, 2025. Item 2 is approval of the Committee of the Whole meeting minutes from June 24th, 2025. Item 3 is approval of accounts payable in the amount of $305,603.31. Item 4 is approval of the payment in the amount of $51,661.60 to Porter Corporation for 2 shelters for the River's Edge Park Phase B project. Item 5 is approval in the $491,102.68 to Steve Speece Construction for the 2025 Birch, Shady, Maple Oak Water Main Replacement Project. Item 6 is approval of the payment in the amount of $21,970 to M.E. Simpson for valve assessment and exercising program. Item 7 is approval in the payment in the amount of $38,300.73 to Schwartz Construction Group for River's Edge Phase B. And item 8 is a payment in the amount of $942,031.11 to Austin Tyler for the 2025 MFT resurfacing project. And as we try to wrap this up here, item 9 is approval of the payment in the amount of $352,020.60 to Pertino Construction Company for the water main transmission project. And item number 10 is approval of payment in the amount of $720,125.54 to deconstruction for the Earl and Geneva water main replacement and reconstruction project. Are there any items the trustee has a question or needs any further information on? If not, motion to approve consent.
Approve consent agenda.
Second.
Motion by trustee Amos, seconded by trustee Babiak. Roll call, please.
Babiak?
Yes.
Brockman?
Yes.
Chapman?
Yes.
Selfridge?
Yes.
And Amos?
Yes.
All right, with that, we'll move into reports of communications. Lon, was there anything you received prior to this evening's agenda?
No, sir.
All right, thank you. This evening's order of business, item number 1, will be a consideration for approval of the purchase of cubicle walls and office furniture in the amount of $19,607.11 and a payment of 50% deposit in the amount of $9,803.56 to Hendrickson. Ms. Engel.
Thank you. In the last budget year, there was a $20,000 line item for the purchase of some cubicle walls and office furniture. Basically, there's a section of the Community Development Department where we have a plotter and a table sitting, and it was always intended to be built out as offices at some point. And with the addition of a new planner, we think this is a good time. We reached out to a number of different companies and asked what they could do within our budget. Hendrickson, who's provided pretty much all of the furniture at Village Hall for the last several years, came up with the best plan and was giving us a good government discount, so we recommended going with them.
Anybody have any questions for Ms. Engel on that?
I'll make a motion for the approval of the purchase of cubicle walls and office furniture in the amount of $19,607.11 and a payment of 50% deposit in the amount of $9,803.56 to Hendrickson.
Motion by trustee Selfridge.
Second.
Second by trustee Amos. Roll call, please.
Brockman.
Yes.
Chapman.
Yes.
Selfridge.
Yes.
Amos.
Yes.
Bariak.
Yes.
All right, item number 2 will be consideration for approval of an ordinance amending Title 10 of the Shorewood Village Code regarding accessory solar and wind energy facilities. This item is up for its second read. Trustee Brockman and Ms. Engel.
Thank you, Mayor. At Planning and Zoning, we looked at this agenda item in 2 separate meetings. We had public hearing extended to the second meeting, and I don't believe anybody rose and spoke for or against the project.
Correct.
And what else would you like to say about it, Natalie?
You know, on the June 10th meeting, we had a discussion about this project, and I've got a recap that will pop up on the screen in a couple of minutes. But there were basically 2 issues that were brought up. One was the idea of whether we should do something to prohibit overhead wires for solar facilities. In the end, Mr. Steriati did do some research and found that all of the wiring, the electrical wiring for solar is designed to run underground, but we did add a section to the ordinance to specify that in case there's a change of technology. In addition to adding it in the solar section, we also added it to the wind section. And then there was also conversation about having to decide where we would want to have it in terms of solar on roofs. We'd originally proposed as staff to allow it only on homes. Then, based on conversation at the Plan Commission, we expanded that to allow it on detached garages as well. At the last meeting, there was a lot of conversation about whether it would be appropriate to have it on detached garages, whether it would be more reasonable just to allow it on houses. So I've kind of tried to get the feeling of where everybody was standing. At this point, I left it in the ordinance so it could be on houses and detached garages. But if you would like to strike that, I've got a recommendation at the end where you can do it. There were some questions about how do we tell the difference between a shed and a detached garage. Going to our zoning ordinance, we've got definitions of both of them. So a shed is a small structure less than 150 square feet. A garage is an accessory building or structure intended for the use and storage of private motor vehicles owned by people who either live on the premises or do business there. We would take that automobile use to also mean that it would need to be at least 9 by 18, which is the minimum size for parking. Needs to have a car door and would need access to the street. So on newer buildings, it's easy to tell what's a shed and what's a garage. In some older ones, we'd probably have to apply the second standards and look at how it's used. But we really, are comfortable going either way. We want to go with what your preference is. I know you've heard all about this, but just, to show you the draft ordinance, we've added the language in there. We added the same language for the wind energy facilities. And I've got 2 recommendations. One, if you want to allow it on detached garages, and a second one, if you want to allow it only on the roofs of primary buildings. Happy to answer any questions.
Thoughts, concerns, questions?
One question as I looked at it. Part of the ordinance talked about if a system, I'm trying to find the exact language, is not maintained regularly and is inoperative, or if it's inoperative for 9 months, it needs to be completely removed within 90 days. how is that, I guess, monitored or enforced? And I know, I guess I don't have a lot of experience with the solar companies, but you read a lot that they go out of business, right? Because you lease them, and then that company goes bankrupt, and now you have something where they're not going to maintain it. So how is the village able to know if a solar facility is not operating or not being maintained?
Sure. So it's a fail-safe. In reality, a lot of times, like with other improvements for the homes, we won't know if if they're not using it, if it looks okay. But it does give Bob something to rely on if, it starts falling apart and there's obvious damage, if we can tell that it's been disconnected from the inverter, if we find out from ComEd that they're no longer participating in the programs for sharing energy, things like that, then we have, or if the house has been vacant, then we have something to go back on them. But realistically, if it's in a reasonable condition, we probably won't know.
Okay.
It's similar to, like a roof, for example. If a roof's leaking, sometimes we just don't know.
Okay. And then, can you define access to the road or whatever the garage? I struggle, and I've had this conversation with Natalie and asked, what's the difference between a shed and a garage? And it sounds like a lot of it's size, right? So
size is the major thing in the zoning ordinance. Now, I personally would say that you should have a driveway leading to a garage. But I will tell you, there are a couple of what I would consider garages that are storing vehicles in town that don't have driveways to it. So that's probably something else we should address in our code. But I would say, it's got to be big enough to fit a car in it. You have to be able to get a car in it, so it would have to have either overhead garage doors or at least the big double doors. And if it's, behind a fence, not accessible to the road without a, proper 9-foot driveway, then I would say it's not a garage. There will be a handful of structures in town that are just giant outbuildings behind houses that were put in before the SHAD regulations were in. But I think in this case, we could probably pretty easily say, no, it's not a garage. And there's not that many of them.
Yeah.
I'm really comfortable either way. I didn't get a good feeling leaving that last meeting where everybody was standing on it, so I wasn't sure how to draft it, which is why I'm presenting both options.
That's all my questions.
Thoughts, concerns?
How do you want to go with this? You want accessory buildings to have solar on them or not?
I'm not opposed if it's, I'm not opposed if garages had it. I know we have, I know that's really going to be an issue that's going to be applicable to some of our older parts of town that probably are the big ones that have some of the separate. I know they're probably, I think it's going to be naturally limited by the amount of trees, though, on some of our older parts of town. So I don't know, even if it's in there, I don't know how feasible it is, but so I'm indifferent if it was left with the garages. But again, I truly, whatever the board on this makeup on this one is.
The only question I have is the noise control, 30 decibels. What is that equivalent to? A lawnmower is like what?
The lawnmower is 75. I think 30 decibels is more along the lines of a refrigerator.
Right. All right. Thank you.
Thoughts?
If I were to go solar, it's going out my garage. The roof is 40 feet in depth, and it sees the sun all day long. So personally speaking, I believe that garages should be an actually welcome sight. If I was going after the fronts of houses facing the street to where everybody else is on, but that would definitely not be convenient for a lot of people. But garages are definitely, it sounds all right to me.
I agree. I think front of houses was my initial concern is because that's what everyone's looking at, right? Garages are a tough one. I'm more worried about the wires and how that would look, I guess, right? I'm just picturing the old power lines going up.
Yeah, at least based on code, at least it's got to go down. But at least based on code, it would have to be underground. So that's, I think, the other added benefit to that.
Right. Trustee Selfridge, I do think that you bring up a good question with the garage, right? I've kind of scratched my head for why certain things are or are not in the code. So at some point, if we do a cleanup of the issues we've identified in the zoning ordinance, I think addressing detached garages and defining them a little bit better is a good idea. just isn't something that could fall under the solar
Agreed.
and wind.
Agreed.
Do we know of panels that have been installed already that would be out of compliance with this ordinance? Is that a possibility?
You know, I know that one of our planning and zoning commissioners mentioned that he did have panels on his garage, so depending on how you go, at least that one would be out of compliance. There is a lot of trend towards putting up like solar carports, right? I don't think we have any in town, but I think that, you know, if we did nothing, that would probably be something we'd be facing. There may be a couple of solar panels here and there in backyards and stuff like that, but none that I've permitted or am aware of.
Is it the definition of a garage? Does that mean carport as well? To include that?
Let's see.
I would have to think that would be excluded.
Yeah.
No, it's a structure.
I think
I mean,
garage is
you
fine.
could probably push it, right?
Yeah.
You could probably push that definition. Really, the accessory structure section of our zoning ordinance is weaker than others. You know, it's probably a good one to be looking at.
Yeah. Are we looking to pass this tonight, or what are we just
It's up
discussing?
for a second read.
Yeah.
I'm okay with garage. Just feedback.
Should we say excluding carports? Or we just clean it up when we do accessory
Would
structures?
that be acceptable on that from council? Add that part for clarity?
Seemed like a carport might not even have the structural integrity to hold.
Right, they're pretty heavy.
Yeah, there are a lot of, if you look at the rightmost picture up there, which I'm sure Bill will put up very soon, they do sell solar carports. And they're a big deal, right? A lot of people with electric
Why don't we
cars
just go
will put a
with-
solar carport up. Didn't get the feeling that that was something you wanted to allow.
Well, why don't we just go with
Right.
garages and we'll adding in excluding carports, just for the sake of clarity.
Yeah, that one in the bottom right would be troublesome, I think, most neighborhoods, right? Okay, sounds good.
All right, so we'll take a motion to approve the ordinance allowing garages but excluding carports.
Is that, council, does that sound right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion by trustee Brockman, seconded by trustee Amos, and that's as amended. Roll call, please.
Chapman?
Yes.
Selfridge?
No.
Amos?
Yes.
Babiak?
Yes.
And Brockman?
Yes.
All right. Moving on to business item number 3 will be a consideration for approval of the updated personnel manual. Ms. Shadia Atik.
So over the past year, we reviewed the current personnel manual. The last time it was updated was in 2019. So collectively, we reviewed the policies that we had and we made changes to compliance, as well as updated federal and state laws to make sure that they were current. And we wanted to have workplace best practices. So everybody should have received an email with the updated personnel manual. Some of the key updates that we had focused on, like I said, was updated the leave policies. Adjustments were made to align with current state and federal laws regarding sick time, family leave, and then we reviewed our paid time off structure as well. And then we just updated the format as well as the verbiage on the current policies. So if it is approved, our next step is to roll it out to the staff members for them to review, sign off as well. Thank you.
Anybody have any questions for HR? Aaron?
So besides Shadia working on this and then the department heads, this was heavily involving our labor attorney, Adam Durkin, who we've all met. And it's a cumbersome read, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, even for us, it's like, this is a snoozer, right? So I get it, but rest assured, Adam had a heavy hand in putting a lot of that cumbersome language in there, okay?
Do you anticipate any of the changes being difficult for employees, or they're all pretty benign?
They're all pretty benign. And I mean, the only thing that we kind of focused on is we just updated our business casual policy as well, just to put a little verbiage on do's and don'ts, so it had a little bit more clarity, because that was something that a lot of individuals were unsure about on what we, our terminology was. So,
Sure.
yeah.
Any other questions?
I've got about 8 or 10 that I'd like to cover with you sometime within the next few days.
Yeah.
And, but it's just for clarity purposes.
Sure, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
I'll make a motion for the approval of the updated personnel manual.
Second.
Motion by trustee Selfridge, seconded by trustee Babiak. Roll call, please.
Selfridge.
Yes.
Amos.
Yes.
Babiak.
Yes.
Brockman.
Yes.
And Chapman.
Yes.
All right, that concludes our order of business. With that, we'll move into our department reports. And right over to building.
No report this week.
Thank you, sir. Community development.
No report, thank you.
And finance.
No report. Thank you, Mayor.
Parks.
Good evening. Our first party in the park of July is this Thursday from 6:30 to 9 p.m. We will have Cadillac Groove playing out at Town Center Park. And then also this weekend is our cardboard boat regatta bash out here at the pond. We have, it'll be a great time to see all the different boats that our residents and friends have built. We also have food trucks coming, as well as a show by the Priscillas. So the boat regatta will start at 4 p.m. and the band will start at 6:30. Thank you.
Katie, can you talk about summer camp? Let them know how many and how it's going.
Oh, sure, yeah. Summer camp's going great. We are in our 4th week, so it ends at the end of July on July 31st. We max our camp out at 36 campers, so we have, I believe, 26 campers that were signed up for the full summer and 10 campers that were signed up for a flex pass. So we give families the option to sign up for 4 weeks out of the 7 weeks we have available. Our camp runs 3 days a week. Residents really like that option. It's a part-time camp, so it's Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. That goes from 9 to noon. And it's been very successful over the years. We have a lot of returning families, returning counselors. They are typically at Four Seasons at the South Pavilion for 2 days a week, and then on Thursdays they'll go to the splash pad. We move them here if it rains. They'll play at Town Center, and then if they need to, they come inside to the basement. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chief?
Only report I have is that we had 67 people pass our written test for the new higher eligibility list. Interviews will be next week by the Police and Fire Commission. That's all I have.
Thank you. Public Works?
No report, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Administrator?
Just a couple quick things. First, Saturday, don't forget, we'll start at 9. It'll be a special committee of the whole. And then I sent the email with that SWOT analysis, okay? Second thing is the number of concerned citizens we had here. Noriel, Chief, and I had an appointment Friday to meet with one of them. That was canceled because of they're appearing tonight. So this is something we've been working on for a couple of weeks. And we'll come back to you soon with some stuff, okay? It's not falling on deaf ears. We were already working on it, okay?
Trustee Amos?
No comment, thank you, Mayor.
No problem. Trustee Babiak?
No comment.
No problem. Trustee Brown?
Thank you, Mayor. Next meeting will be August 6th here at the Village Hall. No agenda as of right now. It's too early. Thank you.
Copy that. Trustee Chapman?
No comment.
Trustee Selfridge?
No comment.
All right. With that, I hope that there's a couple of other folks maybe building a boat out of cardboard. We'll see how that goes Saturday.
You got one.
Working on one. Otherwise, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Trustee Amos.
Second.
Second by Trustee Selfridge. Roll call, please.
Amos.
Yes.
Babiak.
Yes.
Brockman.
Yes.
Chapman.
Yes.
And Selfridge.
Yes.